Fantastic. Has anyone given a tech talk before? You have to tell me how many hands are showing.
Um, we've got about 3 or 4 hands here. Make it
Oh
half a
no.
dozen. Make it half a dozen. Yeah,
Hopefully after this talk there'll be more.
yeah, hopefully.
You might be wondering, why bother? Why should I bother giving a tech talk? There's so much work involved. One of the main reasons is to share knowledge. It's really good being able to spend all this time learning something, knowing that you can save other people time in the future by giving a talk about it and saving them from having to do all the research. Another reason is you can practice public speaking. So public speaking is a really useful skill at work, building your career, many other things. It's a good skill to practice. And it's good on the CV. If you can put some talks that you've given, if they're technical talks, you can show off that you really know something well, that you can get up on stage and give a talk about it. It's really good for getting that job. And you can force yourself to learn a new thing. I often sign up to give talks on a technology that I haven't actually looked into yet, but I've been meaning to, and it forces me, it gives me that deadline that I have to learn this new technology in order to give the talk. You can practice live coding. This is not for the faint-hearted. If you're a bit of a daredevil, you can practice coding something live in front of an audience. It's a lot of multitasking there. And eventually you can travel for free or cheap with conferences. They'll fly you over, they'll book you a hotel, and you can sort of travel the world speaking. Now, to give a talk, you have to know your audience. You have to know, what are they interested in? What's their experience level with the technology that you're giving a talk on? But you also have to follow your interests. Are you interested in the topic of the talk? Because if you're not, you probably won't want to get it finished. You've got to pick a good topic. So new technology is a really good topic for a talk because a lot of people, when they're getting started, they're nervous. They think that they don't know enough. They're not experienced enough to give a talk on something. If it's a new technology, it's very easy to be the most experienced person in this. So a lot of busy developers, they don't have time to look into all these new technologies, especially on the web. There's so many new APIs and features coming out. You could easily, in a few hours, become the expert on that particular thing, and you will be ready to give a talk.
Hey, I'm sorry, Zach.
Yes?
We're just running into a slight technical difficulty. Can I just try? I just want to try and put you on the big speaker.
Okay.
Just keep talking, but just say test or something. I'm just
Testing,
going
testing. One, two,
to.
three.
There we go.
Test,
Keep
test.
going.
Keep going.
Keep talking.
Okay. Test, test. One, two, three.
Okay, that's much
Testing.
better. Thank you. Sorry, please continue.
All right. Yeah. So better than or more difficult than a new technology is something that you learned or made. So something you learned could be something that's maybe not as new. It could be a technology that a lot of people don't really know much about. Something you made is a project that you want to show off, and this requires a bit more effort. You can see I've given it 2-star difficulty there. It's a bit of a step up, but it's still easier than the next thing, which is put your own spin on something that people already know fairly well. So this one's really difficult. If a lot of people already know it, you have to really do a really good job at presenting it. So I wouldn't recommend it for a first talk. I'd recommend something you learned or made or a new technology. Now, when you've come up with your talk idea, you really want to ace the title. You want to get people really excited. So you want a short, witty title that catches people's attention. You don't want to waffle on about too much. You just want to get to the point about what is your talk about. But you don't want to tell people too much. You want a bit of mystery there. You don't want people to just instantly read the title and already know what to expect and have no surprises. You want a bit of mystery in there. And you want to make people really want to come to your talk. Otherwise, they'll miss out. You want some FOMO in there. These are some of the titles that I came up with for my previous talks. You can see the yellow one there, Why You Suck at CSS. It doesn't really tell you what.
Hey,
Sorry?
Zach, sorry. The audience now?
Say again?
Can you see us now?
Yes, I can see you. Thank you.
Sorry.
I can see 3 hands was actually quite a large percentage. Good. So why you suck at CSS, it doesn't tell you exactly what the talk is about. Like it doesn't go through exactly what I'm going to cover, but it gives you an idea about what it's going to be about while still being mysterious. So in that talk, I covered the cascade and common pitfalls that people have with CSS. And I just realized all my hand gestures are not coming across, but that's fine. So you don't want to give away everything that's happening, but you want to still give an idea of what the talk is actually about. The next thing, you want to sign up now. If you come up with an idea, you come up with titles, you want to sign up as soon as you can, because that forces you to actually follow through and give the talk. And then you start making the slides. You want tiny, fun slides. You want to fill them with lots of memes. So memes keep the talk fun. They keep people looking at the slides. Don't have text that's too small as well. Can anyone actually read that? I think I can hear you, by the way, if you speak.
No.
No, good. Can anyone read that? You don't want too much code as well. You want to limit the amount of code to just small, easily digestible demos. And I recommend using dark mode. Some people have said that it might be hard to see in light environments, but often if you're doing a meetup at night, you don't want to blind people with a super bright slide. And you don't want to put stuff in the corner. I'm not sure if this is chopped off right now, but often when there's recordings or there's a difficult AV setup, you might miss information in the corners. So try and keep everything in the center. And go unscripted. You're going to forget some things, but for me especially, it means you don't sound like a robot. So I'm just looking at the slides with you guys. I don't actually have any speaker notes. I just have to remember what I'm going to talk about for each slide, but it means that I sound much more natural and I don't sound like a robot going through everything. And I mentioned live coding earlier. Only use it when necessary. It's very difficult to get started with, and it means that you have to really multitask when you're going through everything. Now, kill your intro. Nobody cares about your long-winded intro, all about you before your talk. They're here for your talk. They just want to hear that, and you can talk about yourself later. And usually, people will introduce you. You want to start with a hook instead. So to start with a hook, you could have a question like I did. You could have a fun fact or something that's just interesting and relevant to your talk. And the mindset. Remember that everyone's rooting for you. I don't think anyone wants me to fail this talk. I think you all want to listen to something enjoyable. You don't want me to completely stuff up at anything. So when you're giving a talk, remember that. Remember, no one actually wants you to stuff up. It's an easygoing environment. It's a laid-back meetup. Everyone's had a hard day at work. They're just here for some fun. And this is a good reminder for me. Slow down. There's no rush. Go through your points slowly so that people can digest them. And the delivery. You don't want to stuff up the delivery. You can put all this effort into slides and ideas and everything, but if you stuff up the delivery, people aren't really going to enjoy your talk. So put a lot of mental effort into how you're going to deliver it. And actively avoid filler words. If I fill up my talk with these filler words and just keep going on with tons of filler words, it's kind of annoying to hear what my actual point is. And don't mumble, because when people mumble, it's really hard to understand. And don't ramble on. I could go on and on about why rambling is annoying. And if you ramble on about things, it's hard to listen to the talk because it's just rambling. And leave pause for dramatic effect. And remember you have hands, so it's a bit hard through Zoom here, but I've been trying to move my hands, but they're off camera. But when you're in person, make use of that. Show your hands, have some body language involved. Otherwise, people can just watch your video or they can just read a blog. And upgrade to a clicker if you want to invest. Costs a bit of money. I haven't done that yet, but it's a good way to move around from the lectern. And practice. Give your talk to a duck. Practice it with an inanimate object, and then give it to your family. And another tip I found on YouTube, you can record your talk and listen to the audio, then watch the muted video, and then read the transcription. And from each of those, figure out how many ums and ahs did you do? How do you do it hand gestures? How is the actual content coming across? And yeah, like I said, make use of the medium. So they're the 12 commandments of giving an engaging tech talk. I hope I did all right through Zoom rather than in person. If anyone wants to take a picture, these are your tips.
I've been done with this before I started.
I can see one last phone. You done? Or are you filming? All right, I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay. I've been Zach. I mentioned before, I work at Prezzee. We do e-gift cards. Any questions?
Zach, I really enjoyed that because I do quite a bit of public speaking myself, and I cannot overemphasize the importance of recording a video of yourself. If you're a new speaker, recording a video of yourself, giving the talk, and really just doing it, by yourself in private and understanding it. That's a really, really valuable tip. Really appreciated that, mate. Thank you. Really like that. I always say if you can't do it properly in front of your family or in front of a camera, you're probably really going to struggle in front of a real audience because it's much harder. So, but doing it in front of a family or a camera is basically very low stress. And practice, like you say, practice is king. You just got to know backwards. It's very valuable tips you were giving there. Thank you.
What was the first talk that you did? And when?
The first talk I did. The first talk I did was at GDG Melbourne, and it was on how to code 1,000% faster. So I went through all my keyboard changes. I changed from a traditional keyboard to like a split keyboard and learned Vim and everything. So sort of all these productivity tips that stack together. It's on YouTube.
Thank you for the talk.
Thank you.
What are your tips about going unscripted? How do you then control the length of the presentation?
That's a very good point, and it ties again into practice. So I still sort of vary the length depending on factors such as how much time I've actually got for the talk, and so that sort of ties into how much time is available on the night as well. Sometimes a speaker pulls out and you can add in some extra information. Sometimes you're running behind schedule and you've got to cut it short a little bit, so you can vary the time as well. But yeah, practice and make sure that in your recordings you're hitting the time goals that you wanted.
Thanks very much, Zach. Really appreciate that. That was very good. I don't have any further questions for you. So what's your parting thought for the audience tonight? What's the single biggest takeaway from this talk from your perspective?
You're putting me on the spot. I would say parting thoughts for you guys is volunteer to give a talk. Hit up Anki or Ella or Derek and volunteer to give a talk tonight. Get on it.
I think it's great advice. From my personal perspective, the best thing you can do if you want to improve your public speaking is just do it a lot.
Hmm.
It's very similar to doing job interviews. Most people have only done it a handful of times in their lives. So of course you're going to suck at it. It's, you don't learn how to ride a bicycle in 3 or 4 tries. It takes dozens or maybe even 100 tries before a kid can ride a bicycle. It's difficult. It's the same thing. It's a skill you need to practice. There's lots of groups where you can practice, like Toastmasters, things like that. Or you can just create YouTube videos looking into a camera. It's all the same thing. It's a skill that takes time to learn. You shouldn't expect to be good at it if you just do it once. What do you think, Zach?
Totally agree. Yeah, I've definitely gotten better as I've gone, and I started off with the 2-star difficulty one. So something I learned, which was my keyboard journey and starting with Vim. And I think it's really good to just pick something you're passionate about to start with, and that way you're not stressed about a script. You can just go with what you know and spit facts off the cuff. It's sort of, you don't have to have this script that you rigorously follow and you're stressed about forgetting stuff or getting something wrong. If you're just speaking about something you're passionate about, that you've done research on, and you've got some fun, tiny slides there, you can easily get through it.
I think that's awesome, Zach, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I was just at a conference a couple of days ago, and I noticed some people doing some very, very, not, I wouldn't use the word bad, but they were doing things which I would recommend people never do when they're giving any kind of presentation, and I'll list them for you so you can avoid doing them yourselves. The number one mistake I saw people making was they didn't understand how to actually use a slide deck. So they were literally having a separate person moving, pressing the back and forward buttons, move to the next slide for them. So please avoid doing that at all costs, because it makes you look like you're too dumb to even press the page up and page down button. I strongly recommend that you learn where the page up and page down button is, or as Zach said, get a PowerPoint clicker. You can get one for $10 on Amazon. Either of those two are great solutions to make you not look like an idiot. So please don't do that. That's very important. Secondly, learn how extended monitors work on computers. It's not hard. I know, bro, you've been doing this for longer than a lot of people in this room. Come on, that you know how to do it. You've done it for a long time. So have I. But seriously, watch a 30-minute YouTube video and learn the basic concepts. I'm surprised when people do like these super, super important talks that are like critical points in their career, and they won't spend 30 minutes watching a YouTube tutorial to understand how extended monitors work on modern computers. That blows my mind. It's like not learning how to drive a car and buying a Bugatti. Bro, why would you do that? What are you going to do with that Bugatti, right? These computers we have today, from my perspective, are like Bugattis. Right? I'm a bit older than most of you. These computers to me are like incredible supercomputers. And yet people won't spend 30 minutes learning how to use them to their fullest, mind-boggling Steve Jobs level potential. This is the same computer Steve Jobs used to give all those presentations that made Apple a $1 trillion company. He wasn't using something else. He was using this thing, right? Spend 30 minutes learning how to use extended monitors and you'll use it to its full potential. That's a huge one. I saw so many people, and you know what? The worst thing was that they did, Zach, you're going to laugh. They had the presenter view in PowerPoint, spent 30 minutes learning presenter view in PowerPoint and Keynote. You will thank me. 30 minutes, it's all you need. 15 minutes if you're smart. They put the presenter view on, but then they couldn't figure out how to put the actual slides on the main monitor. So everybody saw their speaker notes. So the speaker notes were things like, I think we need to move the image 20 pixels to the left here. Oh, I don't like this picture. These notes were on the screen while they were giving their presentation. I was embarrassed for them, but I couldn't say anything because, I wasn't in a position to go and say, you guys are actually screwing this up. Please watch a 30-minute YouTube tutorial so you'll never do that, okay? And I'm talking to people who are captains of industry, Zach, captains of industry. These are very powerful people with like 50 people reporting to them, making these basic mistakes. I found the whole thing amazing. Sorry, I just had to unload that.
I can sense some frustration.
I was traumatized. It was terrible, Zach. Thank you so much for coming around, mate. I really appreciate you guiding and everything. Let's hope we can meet you in person next time.
Hopefully, yeah. Thanks for having me.